We're back with an exclusive interview. When George Zimmerman shot and killed Trayvon Martin on February 26, it didn't happen in a dark alley. It happened in the middle of a neighborhood. There were houses and witnesses all around. And Trayvon's father told us when he walked with us back through the crime scene last week about that.
As you can see, you know, if someone's here arguing and your window's open right there, you can clearly hear, you know, the arguing. One of these windows, I don't know which side, that they did actually hear the cries for help.
In fact, there were 7 911 calls from witnesses that night. In one of the most dramatic calls, an 18-year-old girl called to say that her 13-year-old brother had seen the shooting while he was out walking their dog. Here's that 911 call.
My brother said someone got shot behind our house.
Is your brother there right now?
He's next to me.
Okay, can you give him the phone, sir? What exactly did you say?
I saw a man laying on the ground that needed help, that was screaming, and then I was going to go over there to try to help him, but my dog got off the leash, so I went and got my dog, and then I heard a loud sound, and then the screaming stopped.
Okay, did you see the person get shot?
No.
Okay. Did you know the person that was shot, or did you see the person who had the gun?
No, I just heard a loud gunshot sound, and then the screaming stopped.
I heard a gunshot and the screaming stopped. The screaming stopped, and so did a young life. Joining me now is Cheryl Brown, the mother of the witness you just heard on that 911 call. She's here with her lawyer, Alicia Adamson. Cheryl, that must have been a traumatic night for your children and for you. What did your son see that night?
The story that he told me immediately following the shooting was pretty much what he said on the 911 tape. He was out walking the dog, and he was drawn to the back of the house because he heard the screams for help. And he noticed someone laying on the ground. It was dark, so he doesn't have a lot of detail about that person, but he, as he said, he wanted to go help, and unfortunately he has a lot of guilt about that, which is another tragic part of this whole story. But
wow.
The dog pulled away from him in the opposite direction, and when he turned around to get the dog, he headed back towards where he could see the person laying down, but before he could get there is when he heard the gunshot. And then, as you had stated, then the screaming stopped.
The screaming stopped after he heard the gunshot. Now, some media reports have claimed your son's eyewitness account supports Zimmerman's claim. Does your son think this was self-defense?
Not at all.
He does not?
No.
So those media reports would be inaccurate, and you've talked to your son?
Absolutely.
I mean, what can you tell us? I know your attorney's there, so she will stop you if I go over the line. But what can you tell us your son's general impressions and feelings were?
I mean, aside from what he, the facts of what he actually saw, his feelings were that the cries for help that he heard were from, a young person, and he only saw one person. He never saw two people, so there was no struggle that he saw. I don't know.
He only saw one person when they were laying on the floor?
Correct.
So he never saw struggle on the floor? He never saw someone beating somebody's head into the ground?
No, he did not see anything like that.
And this was only moments before he heard the gunshot?
Correct. He thinks that he thinks that he viewed the body laying there for about 10 seconds before the dog pulled away. He got the dog, turned back around, took a few steps back towards where he would have been able to see the body laying there again, but before he could get back there is when he heard the gunshot. But the entire time, the screaming and the sounds continued until the gunshot.
When did investigators talk to your son?
They talked to him on March 5th, Monday, March 5th.
Monday, March 5th?
Correct.
So from February 26th to Monday, March 5th, the investigators did not talk to your son?
Correct. They did attempt, they first came to the house, and I was not there on Friday, March 2nd. And we scheduled for them to meet with him that following Monday. So between the 26th and March 2nd, there was absolutely no police contact. No one came to our house. No one called.
Wait a minute.
Nothing.
So your son and daughter had called 911,
Right.
made the report, said what they saw and heard, and from February 26th, when the call was made, to March 2nd, you never heard from police or investigators?
Absolutely nothing. And I just assumed that there was other witnesses that saw the entire incident, so possibly what my son saw was not of relevance. I thought maybe I was thinking, overreacting, but I thought that I was waiting every day for someone to come knocking on the door, but it didn't happen.
Now, when they did start questioning your son after this period of time that I'm saying is unusually long, given that they were saying there was no evidence and all, how did they question your son? Did they question him, in your opinion, in a way that seemed like they were trying to get to the truth, or did they seem like they were trying to connect dots with other witnesses, or were they trying to direct your son to questions that they wanted answered a certain way? I'm giving you 3 or 4 different things in my mind, but you tell me, how were they questioning your son?
I mean, honestly, I'm not an expert in how to question a witness, but
Right.
I feel, knowing my son and knowing, I was present when they questioned him. I just don't feel that it was done properly. I think there were some tactics used to maybe suggest some things to him, that maybe some leading him to say certain things that weren't exactly what he would have told if he just were able to talk without them intervening or suggesting anything.
Do you, when you say leading things, can you give me an example?
Well, for example, they asked Austin if he could tell the race of the person laying on the ground. He said he could not see the color of their skin. They then proceeded to ask if he knew the color of the shirt that the person was wearing. And then they proceeded to give him options of what color that shirt could have been. I don't feel that they should have done that. I think they should have just let him tell the story with as much detail as he could remember. They suggested maybe it was black, maybe it was white, maybe it was red. I don't think that is information he would have been able to provide, especially since he said it was so dark that he couldn't see the color of the skin. I don't see how he could see the color of the shirt if he couldn't see the color of the skin.
Now, as the investigators communicated with you and arranging and talking to you around the interview of your son, did they tell you whether they felt this was self-defense or not?
The lead investigator from the Sanford Police Department stood in my family room and told me this was absolutely not self-defense and they needed to prove it. He told me, and I'm paraphrasing this quote, but read between the lines, there's some stereotyping going on here.
Wait a minute, let me get this again right. The lead investigator stood in your family room in your house and told you this was not self-defense and this was stereotyping and you should read between the lines?
Correct.
Meaning what? I mean, what did you take from that?
I took it to mean that, and he even mentioned I have kids myself, and he seemed upset and angered by it, and that he needed to prove that this wasn't self-defense.
This was the lead investigator?
Correct. From the Sanford Police Department.
Wow. So he felt there was stereotyping, as I would call profiling.
Correct. I would also.
And he said that he did not believe this was self-defense. This is the lead investigator.
Correct.
Cheryl Brown, I really appreciate you coming on tonight with this exclusive interview. Thank you, Alicia Adamson, attorney, for allowing her to come. And thank you both for your time tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Ahead, who is State Attorney Norm Wolfinger? And what was he thinking the night of Trayvon's shooting? And smearing the victim. I've seen this playbook before, and I won't stand for it.